Hello and welcome back to the Deck Style Plans channel. Today we're going to be recapping how the team got on at the Tilburg sector qualifier. We had Heather, Cormac and Ali competing. Ali was attempting to become the first two-time sector champion after taking down Liverpool last year. Unfortunately, he only just missed out on the top 8 with hand to ECL and finished in an almighty 10th place. Cormac also made day 2 with hand to ECL, but some early misfortune on the Sunday saw him finish a very respectable 56th. And Heather unfortunately didn't make day 2 with hand 4 Tarkentown, but came very close. For the rest of this video, I sat down with Ali to discuss his list and how the tournament went for him, so we'll go to that footage now. Before we go any further, I just want to give a quick shout out to the new Deck Style Plans community Discord server. This is a free to join server run by the team, so if you're looking for somewhere to discuss deck ideas, request online games, or just generally chat about SWU, this is the place to do it. The invite link for the server will be down in the description, so be sure to check it out and we hope to see you there. Now, back to the video. Right, so I'm here joined by Ali, fresh off his 10th place finish at the Tilburg sector qualifier. So first we're going to have a look at your list, Ali. I know after your win in Air, you've made a few changes.
Yeah.
And I know we were keeping up fairly well with the swoop list. You want to talk us through some of the changes you made just before the event?
Yeah, so just before Air, I felt like Bounty Hunter Squatty and the space package. So the Bounty Hunter Squatty wasn't very good, and the space package was quite good. And I think the swoop list started changing to represent that. But for Air, I just felt like it was too soon to change and just drop everything, which we've been practicing so much for the last couple of months. I think for Tilburg, a lot of people are settling on no Bounty Hunter Squatty and settling on the high space units. And then me and Cormac had a look at the swoop list leading up to the event, and then we decided to just go for basically what they went for with just very minor changes. The list worked out really well. And I think for that event in particular, there wasn't very many options, as we talked about before, where you could have used Bounty Hunter Squatty because you were playing these overpowered space units every turn. So being able to play against Yoda in particular, like any space unit on turn 1, so having 9 to play on turn 1, even if you play blue leader, if you have to, it's just it feels so much better than starting with Nemec or Gungi or Grogu or Obi-Wan even. So having an option to play any of the space units turn 1 was good, and then into the packages top before into like against other matchups, we can go Grogu into Heroic Arc or Red 5 into Heroic Arc. Really changes a lot of the matchups. So I think that probably the addition of the 3 Red 5s and the 3 Heroic Arcs opens up a lot of lines into both the Yoda matchups and into the mirror as well. Like if you're playing these cards and they're not, it just becomes into hand 2 blue, it becomes so much more favoured.
How did you find the Luke pilot?
The big thing that I felt that was useful for was when you don't have initiative against hand 2 blue. So obviously it's good as a pilot and to be it, and it's good as a pilot when you can go, and just put them on there. But it's good to have another 3/2 to start into Ogdo, so you can go sort of Luke into Grogu without needing to go Grogu, which just dies to Ogdo. And I think that Luke, you can play that on top of Nemec as well as using it as a space pilot. Luke's also pretty good because it's a force unit for Obi-Wan. So when he's when he's played from hand, it gives Obi-Wan the Sentinel again.
Revitalizes his Sentinel.
Yeah. So good to bring another thing to bring off Kellerin.
What else did we add? So we went.
The
the Minas were out, so no Minas, right? So all of your 2 drops were Nemec, Outer Rim Constable, Luke, and Gungi. Still on the 3 Gungi?
So before the event, I thought the Gungi plus the General's Blade was just another line that you could take and cut into 2. Which the swoop list had done, just felt like a bit too little 1 drops, turn 1 plays especially into things like Cad Bane. But to be honest, he was rubbish. I'd probably cut Gungi and then play another Obi-Wan over Gungi. I didn't think he was that good.
I find it's getting harder and harder to turn 1 Force or turn 1 Jedi into General's Blade. You sort of have to keep the General's Blade for later.
Yeah, I mean, because General Blade's so good on the leader, it's like you don't really want to put it on anything else. So it becomes a bit like, and it seems so high risk putting it on a turn, like putting it on the Gungi. or an Obi-Wan, compared to just put it on your leader, and if they remove it then it's not as big a deal.
Yeah. Whereas if you go Space Unit turn 1, Luke Pilot turn 2, you're getting the same power buff, but if they defeat the upgrade, you get a unit out of it.
You're actually getting almost, because if you think about if you go Space Unit into Luke, and then you, like, it's the same as going Gunji into General's Blade in terms of if they defeat the Space Unit, you then get the unit back, whereas if they defeat the Gunji, which they probably will do with a fail against Obi, against Yoda, you're getting the unit from, like, say, playing an MH for cheaper, so it's exactly the same as if they fail the Space Unit, as if they fail the Gunji with the General's Blade, so I don't think there's any difference between playing extra Gunjis for that line compared to playing the Lukes in space.
So still on 2 Cham in the main. I know it was debated whether we keep it in, take it out, leave it in the sideboard. How did you find them?
Yeah, I didn't resolve them once. I maybe resolved them once in a game I lost. But it's just all the Yoda players play around it. The P8 players, like, it feels like sometimes you resolve the Cham and you lose, and it feels like sometimes you resolve the Cham and you win, but I don't think that it makes a difference in terms of you're either winning that game or losing that game anyway.
You don't feel like Cham is the reason you're winning that game?
No, I think the big thing it does is very good into Han 1, but a lot of them play around it. But the idea of you having a Cham, so I think if everyone cut Chams, then Han 1 would become harder because people wouldn't, ramp on 3. But the idea that people have Chams in their deck make that matchup swing a bit more towards your favour because they're too scared to ramp on 3, because they're scared of Cham. Whereas I think if people took it out, then you're just going to get ramped and turn, and it's going to change. But maybe if you went more aggressive, it would be doable. But I think the Cham was, it's just like a necessary thing. They need to see that you're playing it so that they respect it, kind of thing.
Especially like if in the eventuality you made it to top 8, as soon as it's open deck list, threatening that Yoda or that P8 with a Cham makes them change their mind a bit. So yeah, we've been over Space Package. One Timely as the only event in the deck. Still happy with One Timely? Did you feel like you're missing them? Or?
Nah, you hardly use it, but again, it's just that thing that it's the same idea. You have to keep them honest by having a Timely, because it means that by playing Timely, you have the option to like Timely Pull or Timely Wrecker or Timely anything. Timely, like a Sabine's Masterpiece, sometimes can be really good into like the 4/5 in space, the AT Hauler.
Yeah.
Like doing that on 4 is pretty good. But I think if you play more of them, like the amount of times you can Timely aren't that often. It's only kind of late game, and it kind of it works quite well when people are kind of passing and claiming because then you can keep it in hand. And you can do it as a kind of other ECL. But I don't think you can play more than one, but I think one's fine.
So typically something like a stolen AT Hauler is quite hard for this deck to deal with. But you gotta. Did you find it easier with the heroic arcs?
No,
still just as hard.
Yeah, no, I didn't play that many decks with. In fact, I suppose I played a few with that card in them, and when you have the answer, it's fine, and when you don't, it's not. But I think that before, when you were playing the Covenant and stuff, it kind of, you had more chance to remove the upgrade, whereas you have a lot less chance to do that now, and a bit more racing options. I feel like sometimes the lines you have to take to kill an upgraded ATR mean that you're left with nothing in space, but then they've kind of pushed your base quite a lot into like a hand flip or a CAD flip, and that feels a bit rough sometimes if you've lost all your units and they are then flipping their leader.
Anything else in the main board you wanted to call out as especially good? Or
Crucible, I was a big hater on Crucible, but I mean it just won me like 3 or 4 games in itself. So
going with Padme into leader flip into Crucible and running away with it.
It doesn't even need to be Padme. It's just when you play a 5/5 in space that's also buffing your ground, then they have to deal with ground or space, because even if they kill all your ground units, you still have a 5/5 in space that's going to put a lot of pressure on.
Yeah.
So I think it's just one of those things that I don't think I appreciated. It was good until I was playing it, but it's one of those other cards where you never want 2 of them, so it's not like Padme or Queen Amidala or Wrecker or Poe, where you could have an infinite number of those cards in your hand and be happy if you had 2, because I suppose you'd be feeling pretty bad. So I think it's another good one-off.
So then sideboard. This is not quite exactly the same as the swoops, but it's heavily inspired by it, right? So the Modder cohorts is their big Grogu killing tech.
Yeah, I mean, it just won me like 3, I think, games against a Grogu. I don't know. You don't need to think. You just play the Modder cohort and kill a Grogu, and then yeah, it's only really for that. I don't think there's any matchups where it was good into apart from that. I played Chopper. So I played Chopper because I thought the hand one matchup was actually pretty hard, and I think people agree that it is quite hard, especially with this type of list.
Yeah.
Kind of have to go get quite a lot of space units that can out their space units, and then there's a little bit of issue about whether your units will survive or not. So I wanted Chopper into hand one, and we tested Chopper quite a lot previously. I felt that if you got it, then you usually win that matchup. But I actually never played it. I never got to see it against any of my hand matchups. I seen it against a Piet, but then I had to get rid of his Gonk droid, so just lost the Chopper that way anyway. So it could have really been anything else in the side, and I wouldn't have seen it anyway.
And the clone, did you play the clone at all?
Yeah, played it a couple. I played it into a hand to blue, who had a lot of board presence, and then I copied his Rex.
Oh, okay.
And then I played it into. I copied my own Wrecker at one point, which won me the game. And then maybe I copied someone's Luke as well. But yeah, when I seen it, it was hard to resource. It was pretty good, and it's good because people don't expect it.
There you go. So yeah, 51 cards main deck. Do you regret it? Happy with it?
I mean, the only thing, it was just, I would probably play 51 again, but I would just change the Gunji for a third Obi-Wan.
Any particular reason?
I just thought Obi-Wan was like, every time you seen him, he was
good.
So much. Yeah. And before we were trying cutting him, there's a lot of times where it's like, a couple of matches it was like I had a Kelleran, and if I brought out an Obi-Wan from that, it would have won me the game.
Yeah.
And I think that just being able to again into like things like CAD and into like on the hand flip, even just playing that to save your base, a lot of damage is pretty good.
Yeah, certainly into Sabine and stuff like that. It can just slow them down, or even force an early claim because they don't want to hit into it.
I mean, even in the mirror, you can, like, if you don't have a good ACL or you want to save your ACL for Wrecker, and if you don't have a good 5 cost like that in a spaceship, and like that undamaged in a spaceship, damage is pretty good.
No Typhos in the 60 anymore. Did you feel like you were missing Typho at all?
There was nothing that you really need to side it in for. It doesn't really help. I mean, I'd say the 3 big matchups, or the 4 big matchups going in were, like Yoda in the mirror, Piet in hand to blue. At least that's what I thought would be the matchups you face the most, and Typho doesn't really help in any of those matchups compared to. It's just because on 4, like, you're able to play the Amidala, and that thing's kind of like a sentinel anyway, because they
get scared of it and they have to deal with it.
Just because you have to kill a spy because it's free.
Yeah.
So then you're saving 3 damage off your base, 4 damage off your base, and then it's like a sentinel anyway. So I don't know. I don't think it was that as good as other cards that we played.
So 10 and 2 on the day. Started off against a Maul Legend of the Force Blue Force. It's an interesting list. Some of the guys that we normally play against the PQs are on it. A lot of pinging, similar to Talzin, just without the subtraction, right?
Yeah. So I mean, and Talzin's a nightmare matchup for hand 2. It's what I previously played Talzin at one of the PQs we went to because I felt like the hand 2 matchup was so bad, and I'd imagine that's why I'm So Humble was on Talzin. But so I just played it like that. Tried to play as many undamaged units as you can. So start with like an Namek into an Obi-Wan. Just play it until you get to the big kind of plays. And I think against Talzin it's good to play kind of pose and wreckers into Kellerans. And that's kind of what we did. He bet me get round game 1. I was a bit worried. But game 2 and 3 managed to just swing around. Good player, and good bunch of guys. Those 3 guys who were playing well. And
then it was Ham on Green, round 2. That was a 2-0 win.
Yeah, so he started with the Falcon, which then is manageable because you can just kind of go like the spaceship then deals with it, compared to like having to put all your resources into an ATR. So I think without the ATR it was more favoured. So that's both games they played the Falcon, and both games managed to out the Falcon.
And then round 3 was Cad Bane Tarkin Town. Terrible matchup.
It's hard. So I think it's a lot better than it was last set. I think it's a lot worse than when you were playing Bounty Hunter's Quarry, because I think the Bounty Hunter's Quarry would, recover a lot of the value that you'd lost early from Darkentown. And Maddie, for people that don't know, is like a very good player. And I played against him a couple of times. He's playing CAD. He came 11th at Leo with CAD. Game 1, kind of went as planned. It was like Nemec into Obi-Wan into maybe a Padme into an ECL Poe. And then game 2 and 3, it's just I had a Gunji and it felt okay. And then a General's bladed it, and then he upgrades, return to hand upgrades 2-1.
Yeah.
The one drop 2-1 hands to hand, and it just ended the game. I had another 3 drop that I could have played, and maybe if I did that, it would have went better. Game 3, it was just like I had no ECL. I had the ECL Nemec on 6 resources. I didn't have a Poe or Wreck or a Padme, so I didn't really have a chance of winning that game. But maybe I think if game 2, I think if I saved the General's Blade for the leader, and maybe it would have went different.
And then round 4 was a hand to blue non-force, and that was a 2-1 win.
I think these ones I think I probably had the initiative. A lot of the times if you have the initiative with these ones, even if you both have Grogu, your Grogu is just better because you can blue leader their Grogu and they can't blue leader your Grogu. So it ends up, I think it's probably favoured if you kind of know the Grogu off and you have the initiative.
Do you find yourself, you're the aggressor in that matchup, or do you control early to then pivot?
Because Padme and Poe and Wrecker put so much damage on 5 and 6, you don't really need to be super aggressive, but you have to kill them before Bo. So it's a bit in between. Like Luke's not as big an issue, but kind of Rex into Luke into Bo is. You have to control the board early so you don't lose all your units basically. But then after that you just need to go. You need to kill them before they get to 8.
So then we go to round 5, which was the 0-2 loss to the Ham 1 green.
He just had the ATR. He didn't even have a pilot on it, but I just couldn't out it. Didn't have any spaceships. There was one point in the game where I thought I'd won maybe game 2. I had a Padme and a Poe up, and then he Qui-Gon, and his Qui-Gon killed one and then put the other one to the top of the deck, and it just ended the game. I didn't know he was on Qui-Gon.
Yeah, I'm having a look at the list now. The most interesting thing is he's got 3 Chaos of War in the sideboard.
Alright.
I suppose it makes sense. Hand doesn't like dumping its hand out.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's on the Qui-Gon's main, which I don't think most are. That's typically.
Yeah, so I wasn't playing. I was playing against just the hand, but I wasn't playing around the Qui-Gon.
Round 6 was Piet. That was a 2-1 win.
Yeah, this one was a bit rough. There was a big. I don't really know what happened in game 1 and 2. For game 3, it was really, really close, and I thought I had him with a hot shot on a Crucible Damodala. But then we couldn't work out the damage on his base, and I basically thought I must have messed up the damage. So then I thought I lost. His base was on 19 rather than 22, so was about to concede. But then I tracked back the damage and figured that he might have missed 3 damage. So got a big judge call for about 18 to 20 minutes. We went all the way back to turn 1, and it turned out he had missed 3 damage by accident. And there's a big argument about whether I forgot to attack, and I think the argument was that it was unlikely that I forgot, and it's more likely that he just forgot to put the damage on. So ended up being able to hotshot for game that one. My only piece of advice is I wasn't really arguing. I just think you just need to let the judges sort it out, because ultimately we both made a mistake in terms of not knowing how much damage is on the base, and there's no point just arguing doesn't help. So just let the judges sort it out.
So this is a public service announcement to take notes of base health. Following up, it was Iden Data Vault. That one was a 2-0 win.
I used to play a lot of control, like a lot of control, and I think when like these matchups are like puzzles, and if you like, it's pretty solvable with the cards you have, with Nemec and Queen Amidala and Cassian and Hotshot, Keldon, and you have a lot of answers to whatever they can do, as long as you know how to do it. And there's no variance because it doesn't matter what you start with, you're going to see these cards. So as long as you hold all these cards to be able to produce 2 cards every turn, late game, it's quite hard to lose as long as you know the lines.
Yeah, it's one of the proper hard control versions where they're only 2-drop is 1 Bazine and the rest is all 6 drops and up.
And then on game 2 he didn't like passed like four runs in a row.
So you just claim and carry on.
No, he didn't have any plays.
Oh, I see. Right.
He just like, I think he might have powered me, and then after that he didn't have a play till flip. He didn't have like a
Fair enough. Then another hand to blue non-force. Same as before.
This is one of my friends from Scotland. It was quite unlucky that we both were on the play and win to get into day 2. And there's only 3 of us. Well, there was only 4 of us from Scotland who were there, and we got paired into each other for the winning into day 2.
So it was 8 rounds day 1, right?
Yeah. So this was pretty much the same. He probably opened worse than the other guy because he had to start with an Ogdo into my Grogu. So it's just you just heal the Ogdo damage onto your Grogu, and then they can't attack. And it just goes round from there. And then
that's such a gross play.
And then game 2, I think I already cohorted his Grogu. He was making fun of me for playing it before we went, but did kill his Grogu and change the game. So, but he's a really good player. He's won a couple of Scottish PQs. Really nice guy. I felt bad that we had to play against each other.
He's got some interesting stuff in the list as well. He's got 2 Fleet Lieutenant, some Luthen's Hall crafts.
The Fleet Lieutenant was maybe came from Ali G.
Is that advice from you?
I think the idea with that is that if you don't start with Grogu, and they do, you can start with a Nemec and then Fleet Lieutenant their Grogu, because they don't have access to Modi Cohort, and so it's only open fire to the Grogu. Everyone's on Grogu, right? And if they're not, it's good at the Yoda.
So that was day 1.
Yeah.
You were then at the point of, if you drop another game, that's it, right?
Yeah. I think looking at the standings before, it looked like anyone who went X2 was basically going to top 8, unless a very specific amount of people went X2 and then lose to a very specific amount of people. So it was winning in basically for everyone who was X2.
Yeah.
The night before, I think me and Cormac were chatting and just said that this was kind of our aim. Like, I hadn't played with Hand 2 that much. I know I won that PQ with it, but it was only really since the end of December.
Yeah, you picked it up like a week before that PQ.
Yeah. And I'd never been to a big event and played the deck to beat kind of thing. I'd always played kind of like Bosk or played Talisman at Worlds, but that was like a bit of an unknown there.
Yeah. At the time, that was.
At the time, yeah. And then you had the Security Complex. I never played like the deck to beat, and always tried to get wins through surprise factors. But so I think making day 2 by playing one of these decks, we're pretty happy with. And it's quite hard to expect to try to make top 8 when you're X2, because it's very unlikely that you're going to win all your games into the best players on day 2.
So day 2, it was another 4 rounds before top 8 cut. So you started the day off with your first Yoda of the tournament. That was a 2-1 win.
Yeah, so that's a Woji, who I think is from Birmingham. Really nice guy again. It's my first Yoda of the tournament, but before I felt like it. Yoda, when you know the lines again, it's a bit like a puzzle with control. Again, it's just start space and you go. And he had a lot of space hate in his deck, or opened a lot of space hate with 60 cards, but it didn't seem to make that much of a difference. Like, I think he might have went Phoenix Squad into Blue Leader into Bright Hope.
Yeah, 3 Phoenix, 2 Blue Leader, 2 Bright Hope, and then into the resupply carriers in the main. He's also got 2 Avengers main. Yeah,
so he, interestingly, wasn't playing Queen Amidala, he was playing Anakin. So he was holding the Avenger, so he could put it on top for Yoda flip. And then when he flips Yoda, he can mill the Avenger and then Anakin. And then he says in the Yoda mirror, Avenger's really good.
So then it was I'm So Humble on Towson Red Force. That was another 2-1 win.
So this match is I think it's pretty impossible to win, but got quite lucky with his draws, probably. Or game 1 I opened in like the best drawers you can open, and I realised Obi-Wan's I played a lot of Talisman before, and Obi-Wan's quite hard for them to out early, and can keep your turn. Like if you've got initiative, it can keep your turn 1 play alive, because they can't really kill your turn 1 with like a Karis. So I basically got the perfect hand of that into, maybe a blue leader into an ECL. Poe, and I kept him off the force on turn 5, and then he never got it back and managed to win that game. Game 2, he just did what Talisman kind of does, completely controlled the board and kept the force. It got quite close, but he emergency powered his Krennic, and then it swung twice for 7, which is out. And then game 3, he didn't have the force. He started with like a Krennic into no disintegrations into something again that didn't get the force. He didn't get the force until Talisman flip. So you can win that game, unfortunately for him. So I mean, the big thing with these, I suppose the spaceships were really good in this. I think a turn 2, I play the red 5 on, and they don't have a real good out for that apart from
Talisman's assassin and something else.
Yeah. So.
And then it was hand to ECL, a mirror, 2-0 on that one. Yeah,
I think tensions were quite high at this point because again it still looked like anyone who was X2 was going to make it, and there's only 2 rounds left.
Yeah.
I think my opponent was much more stressed than what I was, and was taking a very long time to think about plays, and then wasn't too sure if he was making the right plays because he was taking so long. So I think there was a bit of a mental aspect in this game in terms of taking advantage of that, being more confident, I think, than I was at that point.
Well, yeah, looking at his run, he lost round 1, then won 8 in a row, and then lost to a Yoda the round before he played you. So he'd sort of built his confidence and then had it stripped away and then played into you. So probably was thinking, oh, if I lose this one, that's day done. And then final game was another Yoda Data Vault. That was a 2-0 win as well. So yeah, day 2 you did everything you could do to make top 8.
And after that game, looking at the standings before, unfortunately everyone who I played on day 2 had then lost all their games after I played them.
So your match win percentage took it.
Yeah, so it just went massively down. And it wasn't that high to begin with. But basically, there was still I needed Sip to lose, and I needed the Yoda and this guy's Spammer. I'm not sure who he was, but I needed him to lose. Or the 2 Yodas to draw. There was 2 Yodas playing each other, and there was only like 3 minutes left. And their bases weren't really on any damage. And if they drew, then they were both out, and me and that Spammer guy would have been in. But it wasn't to be. So I think it's maybe an error on the sort of format of tournaments that you can play in day 2 and still not make top cut despite not losing. There should probably be an extra round somewhere, whether it's on day 1 or on day 2, to make sure that doesn't happen.
How did you find the event ran? Because I know there's been some issues in the past with sectors and stuff.
It was like so smooth. You wouldn't even, that way when you don't even think about it.
Yeah.
And it
doesn't cross your mind, so you know something's going well.
I was talking to Heather about it, and it's like when you don't even think about delays between rounds. It's honestly, as soon as time in the round, you'd be talking 5-6 minutes for one game to finish, and then that'd be you. The judges were all class. My friends had quite a difficult judge call, and one of the developers came out and had a chat with him and explained why the rules are in place like that, and kind of diffused quite tense situations. So everyone was really good.
Oh, fair enough. There you go. Anything else you want to add before we wrap things up?
Thanks to Cormac and Heather, who were there with us as well. I think Cormac got quite lucky one of his games, which put him out in terms of he didn't draw a turn 1 against his bean, which is pretty hard to win against.
There we go. Right. Thank you very much for your insight today, Ali. It's been very good, and yeah, hopefully on to the next. So there you have it. That's how Ali finished 10th in Tilburg. His deck list will be linked in the description below if you want to take a look at it in more detail. Don't forget to check out the DSP Discord server for all things SWU, and we hope to see you in the next video. Take care and goodbye.